Day's daily lesson, and we're going to be talking about leadership as an entrepreneur, as the business owner, versus operations or the operator, right? And so we dig into if you are in FitBiz University, you know that we kind of dig into these subject matters a little bit later on in the program because I think that it becomes really important to reach a certain level of business um, and having one of these traits, and we'll talk about which one I think, and this is just my opinion, but which one I think is more important. Whether you call it a trait, whether you call it a skill set, I think that they're skills, both of them, leadership and operations, because they can be learned and they can be, improved and measured, right? And I think that anything that you can learn and measure and improve upon is a skill, right? Versus a trait that comes a little bit more naturally. But I think that a lot of entrepreneurs have a natural tendency to lean towards, either being a good charismatic leader or being a really sound operator. Not a lot of people are very good or enjoy at least doing both of them, but the business does require each of them, right? And so I kind of titled the video "The Leader versus the Operator," but in reality, you know, at a certain point in business, for you to be able to operate or for you to be able to have a business that operates at a certain level, you're going to need both. But let's talk about let's start with like 0 to, I don't know, level 2, right? Which in my mind is, having a small team, a small business with a small team. Okay. And so I think that when let's say you have 3 to 4 employees, we'll talk about a gym, right? Let's say that you have, yourself and maybe 3 or 4 coaches. Okay. At this point in business, I think that it is more important to be a good leader, right? Because at this point in business, you still need a ton of buy in. You still need to build up a ton of goodwill to be able to get to where you want to go, right? Which means you need people to follow you, okay? Um, and so when you're at this level, right, it's really important for the business owner to have good leadership skills. I'm not going to say great because I know a lot of business owners that make up for maybe not being the best leader with other skills or character traits that they have. But I think to be able to, maintain a level 0, 1, 2 business or gym, you got to be at least good, right? Because otherwise, it's going to be really hard for people to want to follow you. And that's largely what a great leader does, is inspires, right? And gets people intrinsically motivated. That way they don't need to constantly be that source of motivation for the individual, right? It's almost like you know what a CEO does for a big company, right? Is they're not actually doing a lot of tactical, day-to-day, you know, responsibilities, or they don't have a checklist normally that they have to get done every single day. What they're able to do is get the people within the organization to follow the vision of the company, whether that's like the board or the CEO or whoever, right? There is a strategy, right? And that strategy needs to be implemented. And usually the implementation is done by the employees, right? And so a great leader will get the employees excited about implemented that strategy, right? And so it's really crucial that in the beginning of your business journey that you learn leadership if it doesn't come natural for you. And again, like you don't have to be like freaking amazing at it, but just enough to where people want to follow you, right? If they don't want to follow you, if they don't agree with the way that you do things, like again, like as an example, like you could lead, through like fear, you could lead through um, consequence, you could lead through, a lot of negative kind of annotations or whatever you want to say, and you'll get to a certain level, but you only get so far because people don't want to help you accomplish your vision. They want to feel like they're accomplishing the mission or the vision of the company, and they're part of that, right? And so to lead in that way, I found at least that it makes much more sense to have, incentive based kind of, performance bonuses, or public praise, or ways for them to be able to excel, when they do accomplish the things that you as a company want to accomplish. They get excited. They want to follow that game plan. They want to follow that mission. And so our job as a great leader is to put together a plan, a strategy where they're involved and they get rewarded for going above and beyond, accomplishing that mission, whatever their role is within it, right? Everybody serves kind of a different role with accomplishing the company's goals, right? So a great leader can get them excited, and usually through inspiration, leads from the front. You know what I mean? Leads by example. There's a lot of great traits that I think a leader has, and I've done quite a few lives or episodes or daily lessons on the traits that I think a great leader really embodies. So I won't go too deep into like exactly what makes a great leader, but I think in the beginning of your business, and you can say like a level 0, 1, 2 business, this might be 10, 20, 30, 40, up to like $40,000 a month in revenue, right? And this is me speaking from experience of a gym, right? So up until that point, you can be a little bit not perfect with your operations, and you can make up for it with just people doing the right things, because you probably don't have a ton of customers at this point. You have a fair amount, but not a ton. And so the operational systems don't need to be, super elaborate, and, have somebody specifically assigned to making sure each of those happen. But as the business grows, right, that's when the operator needs to step in. And again, maybe this is the owner, right? There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to, how you run your business, but there is requirements, right? And so a business that's doing $1 million, a year and up, right? I don't speak too much above the 1.1, 1.2, because I don't have experience with it, right? But I have a couple $1 million businesses, and from my perspective, that's kind of the level of which, you need to have sound operations and a sound operator, right? And so this could be the owner. If the owner has natural tendencies to like to operate, to like to manage. And when I speak about operations, I'm talking about SOPs. I'm talking about, processes that you follow. I'm talking about kind of reverse engineering outcomes to be able to create a plan, a detailed plan on how exactly we're going to reach those outcomes, and then hold the people that are involved in doing it accountable to the actions that need to be taken. I'm talking about there's a lot when it comes to operating, but the tracking of key metrics and things like that, and again, reverse engineering how we're going to predictably reach those key metrics and how those lead to bigger goals, right? That's what an operator does. An operator is largely responsible for implementing the strategy of the leader. Okay, and so there's some businesses, bigger businesses, that the founder of the business decides to become the COO and not the CEO, right? The CEO is really going to be that person that has the vision, that has the ability to inspire the team and get them to follow, what the vision is and the mission and accomplish. That's the CEO, right? The COO, that would be the operator. And there's plenty of founders that have stepped into that role because they enjoy it more, because they're better at it, because they feel like that's where they can contribute the most, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? And so they'll hire a CEO, right? And that might be the perfect solution for their business because they may be able to bring somebody in that's way freaking better than them at inspiring and leading, and that's what's best for the mission, right? Most gyms, small businesses aren't going to do that, right? They're not going to bring somebody in that's not the founder or the owner to lead the business, right? Every so often, it can happen, right? That happened with my gym. When I reached a certain level and I wanted to step out, right, and then work with gym owners and build FitBiz University, I was stepping out of that role, but the business still required it. So then I had to bring somebody into that role, right? Um, and so every now and then that would happen, but mostly when the gym no longer becomes owner operated, right? So I think that it makes a lot of sense for gym owners to at least get proficient at leadership, right? And the vision and hire out for operations and hire out for, who's going to operate and implement. Only because it's harder to hire out for the leader with an organization as small as most gyms are, right? And so now again, if you're naturally good at operations, man, when I was running the gym, the day-to-day stuff, I held that operations role because I freaking loved it. I was good at operations, and I enjoyed tracking numbers, and I enjoyed finding different ways to reach certain KPIs and innovating and holding people to a high standard and all of that stuff. I enjoyed doing it, right? But I also enjoyed the vision and the kind of like the game plan, the strategy, and so I did hold both of those roles, but at the end of the day, it was a lot of work, right? And so I only did it for a certain period of time. I knew it wasn't like a forever solution. It could be if all you want to do is work, right? And again, there's no wrong answer. I was working probably 60 to 80 hours a week when I was holding both of those roles, right? When I was managing all the people, and I was also operating the business. It's a lot of hours. My life changed, right? I had kids, and I said, hey, look, this is no longer my top priority. My top priority is my kids. And so if that's the case, then I can't work 60 to 80 hours because then there's no way I could make them my top priority. It's not enough time, right? You put your time with what you value the most, right? And so I changed, I pivoted. But you don't have to, right? Because you might have different goals. And you can hold both of those roles. You can hold the role of being that CEO and COO. Now, I wouldn't exactly have those titles at the gym, but you get my point, right? Um, Most gym owners are probably better at leadership than they are at operations. And this is from just purely from experience of working with a lot of gym owners and asking them questions and just to see how you can see their excitement when you ask them, like, where do you see this company going? Like, what do you think it's capable of doing? Like, how do talk to me about your gym in 3 years from now. What does that look like? And they light up, right? And they're like, we're going to do this and I can do this. And our gym is unique because of this and all of this stuff. They're excited about it. And then when I say, hey, talk to me about your numbers, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh, shit. Yeah, numbers. Okay. Well, I know I have them somewhere on a spreadsheet. They're not excited. They're not excited about it, right? And that just shows me which way they lean. Again, nothing right or wrong about leaning a certain way, but the business needs what the business needs, right? So if that means it, let me back that up. If you have certain goals, right? If you want $1 million gym, right, then the business needs a good operator because otherwise, when you have 7, 8, 9, 10 employees that are running that place, man, it is hard to keep things organized without a great operator. And there's nothing that will kill a team and a business faster than shitty organization, shitty communication, people not understanding what they should be doing, or people just kind of coming in and winging it, and it trickles in the client experience, and now the clients are kind of pissed. Guys, it's not hard to give a great client experience with 50 clients. Do it with 500. Right? That's where you need an operator. The operator's sole mission is to make sure everybody else has exactly what they need and is held to the standard that was agreed upon, when that role was kind of rolled out, right? That's what it's the glue, it's the behind the scenes, right? And the business to get to a certain level needs it. So whether you want that to be you, right, because you're good at these things, or you hire out for it, is up to you, right? But it needs it, right? And what you can't do uh, is is take over the role and do a very poor job at it because you're either not good at it or you really dislike doing it. Right, because that's doing a disservice to the business and the employees. Right, it's almost like saying, "Hey, I'm going to step into sales, but I hate sales and I'm not very good at it, and I don't want to do it." Right, but you step in because maybe you don't want to pay someone else or whatever. Right, you've immediately put a cap on your growth because you can only get so big closing 25% of the people you meet with. Right, same thing with operations. Right, the business needs an operator that's proficient, that has KPIs and meets those KPIs and gets the team to accomplish the mission, right? And so at the end of the day, like, I think it's probably a little bit easier to um, bring somebody in for that. But again, like, you don't want to just hire anybody. Like, you want to make sure that they have a track record of at least operating something, right? And it doesn't have to be like massively impressive, right? But just being able to meet deadlines, being able to, understand systems, work with, spreadsheets, software, whatever they're going to be. Like, it can't be their first rodeo at ever doing any of this stuff because we don't know if they're good, right? They could be not very good at it, right? Or really not enjoy doing it, right? And so I usually like to find somebody that has at least enjoys doing these kinds of things, and then we can just get them up to speed on how we do things, right? That's usually the easier method than to go out and try to find a leader, right? And say, hey, I'm gonna stay in the operations role of the gym, but I need to bring somebody in that's gonna lead the team. Now, it can be done, through a head coach, right? So you might be able to bring a head coach on that would then kind of sort of, I guess, lead the staff, to you know implement the strategies. But usually, a great leader is the one coming up with the strategy, and I think it's difficult to have an owner and a kind of a head coach. And maybe they have different strategies. They have different visions for the business, right? That's where it becomes difficult because if the owner is the operator, and the head coach and the owner don't have the same vision, but you know the head coach is the one that's pushing out the vision to the team, it may not work the best, right? And so that's why I usually think because of gyms, micro gyms, and us being smaller, usually all of us are sub $1 million in annual revenue. I think that just by the nature of our business, it makes sense for the owner to become that really good leader, right? And if you have the time and the energy and the bandwidth and the enjoyment, also step into that operator's role. And if you don't, hire out for it. As the companies go bigger, it is more and more important for the operator to be really good. And I'm talking about, like, I have experience working with these companies, but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million a year. At that point, really the company runs by systems and processes and operations. And not that the leadership's not important, but you can have the not greatest leader, right? And the company will still rock and roll because it's so systemized that and compartmentalized that, like, a good leader can't bring down the whole, or a bad leader can't bring down the whole thing because now we have pockets of employees that have their own leaders within it. You know what I mean? And that can overcome like a bad CEO or whoever, right? Because let's say you have like a, marketing department, and you have a sales department, and you have a product development department, and you have a customer service department. Well, each one of those is going to have leaders within it that can that can really make sure that at least that pocket is excited and fired up and whatever. So at that point, operations may take precedence over what is going to make that company more successful over a charismatic, head top leader. And again, not that it wouldn't be like, it's still really important, but I think that knowing what makes sense, don't behave and build your company like $100 million company when you're a $50,000 a month gym. Be that person, be that leader. If you're in FitBiz University, we have this an entire leadership course that you guys have access to. That will help you work on these things, right? Again, I think it's a skill. I think it's a skill that can be worked on and that can be improved and that can be measured, and that over time you can get better and better and better at it, right? And same thing as operations, but I think because of the size of the business, as a gym owner, it would serve you more to become a better leader than an operator. And if you have bandwidth, take on both of them and be great at both of them. If you don't have the bandwidth or don't want to, then hire out that operator who's good at implementing the strategy that you have as the leader. So anyways, hopefully that helped somebody watching this, right? That's why we do these. And if it did, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share, comment, whatever you want to do, right? Get it out, reach it, help it reach out to other people. So appreciate you guys. And I will see you tomorrow on tomorrow's daily lesson. We're out of here.